Hey everybody, this is Rydo and we're back to Dead Space. Let's continue. Make sure all the audio is still playing. We're still on the optional mission. Let's just make sure. Let's see, we're trying to recover anything that survived the purge. We're halfway through this mission. And this optional mission is also taking enough away from us as far as having to switch between VSync and non-VSync that we may run into some glitches here. Although I guess I could risk it and we could see. It's not really worth it though. It takes maybe 20 seconds to switch between turning on the VSync and not turning it off. So the game is still way better to play when you have the VSync enabled. I mean disabled. It's funny how this really just becomes a dance of death with the stasis coatings happening. Like, they just cannot stop you and rush you, and that since that is the only thing that most Necromorphs have as a style of attack, you run into this weird scenario where the idea of electrical damage, the idea of acid damage, the idea of fire damage, while they've all been poorly integrated into this game, they don't really make sense. There's nothing here that is like battle hardened that requires either 5 times as many shots or acid damage. There's nothing here that is particularly weak to fire. There's nothing here that seems particularly weak to well, anything other than stasis. And everything is weak to stasis. There should be something that either explodes or speeds up when you stasis it, and then that would give us a reason to use an alternate gun potentially instead of just having the stasis coating on our main gun and using it for everything. I'm going to actually read this one outline. So first contact scenarios: 1 says no danger of infection or contagion. 2, moderate danger of infection or contagion, standard sterilization procedures required. 3, localized outbreak, infection personnel to be quarantined. 4, virulent outbreak, destruction of site and all associated personnel required. And 5 is extinction level outbreak, extreme contamination procedures required. All personnel participating in associated or with knowledge of the outbreak site must be destroyed. All locations connected to said personnel must be destroyed. Where destruction is impossible, permanent containment is required. So we now know what the level 5 is, but we kind of already knew that. Like, that was fairly obvious. And it seems like these scenarios may not specifically have too much to do with just Necromorphs. It may have been a procedure that was enacted for any kind of outbreak. You would think that if it was specifically around the Necromorphs, they would also say cut off the limbs, unless the idea is that this facility never even figured out to cut off the limbs. +2 clips, +1 rate of fire. I think that's maybe an upgrade to what we have, but maybe not. Right. So we can go into chamber access, or we can go to central chamber. Yep. So we could have missed this one area, which, okay. What's funny is I thought I saw something blinking here, so I wonder if I could have just picked up the resource here, but instead by putting the scavenger bot down, it immediately picked up that resource for me. So it might be a case that all this really does is point you towards resources you could have picked up anyways, which I don't think that's really the case. We've been down and up these elevators far too often, and only once early in the game were we attacked by a Necromorph. Because, yep, these are just load sequences. And only once have we been in an open area elevator and looked through it and actually seen anything interesting. And seen Necromorphs actually attack us. Like, I really should not even bring out the scavenger bot until I start hearing the whopping sound. Which also, now that I know that whopping sound is the sound, that sound that we hear here. Now that we know that that is that sound. These guys take too much to kill. Shoot off a leg, shoot off a head. That being said, I am still capable of killing 3 of them in one full 20 clip. There, I just got a achievement called Metal Detector for, I assume, placing the... It says there's either nothing around here or there's Necromorphs around here. Take your pick as to which one of those is probably the case. I guess the question is, can we find anything here that would give us reason to just wait around for a few minutes? Let's see. No, it'd be like 6 minutes. It's not really worth it. It is worth it to come over here and turn in the resources we've gotten. +2 clip, 1 rate of fire. Some more tungsten. Compact repeater, compact conic dispersal. 1 second, I'm gonna be right back. Okay, I'm back. Sorry about that. Someone was yelling at me for stupid reasons. So we have 2 damage, 2 clip, 2 damage, 2 clip, 2 damage, 2 clip, 2 reload, 1 rate of fire. We now have 2 clip, 1 rate of fire, which I suppose you might think about doing, but probably not on this weapon. Let's see. 2 damage, 1 rate of fire. I feel like I already had all of that equipped. Yeah. Another 2 damage, rate of fire. I guess what we could do is sell some things that are negative. There's really no reason for those. Probably could sell just things that are just straight up 2 reloads too. And frankly, 1 damage and 1 reload is probably not worth anything at this point. 2 rate of fire. Can we do 2 rate of fire plus something? No, we still have yet to get any upgrades on that part. 2 damage, 2 clip, kind of over improves on anything else. Which probably means we could sell this too. And I suppose we could look here and see if we've got something new. Let's see. I don't think we really do. Directed suppression field. No, that's not new. We could craft a new tool. No, we really couldn't. So yeah, I have really no idea what we just got. Let's look at our inventory. Probably safe enough to put 1 clip here. And we'll want to make a torque bar just so we have one on us. We could easily start to make full health packs if we cared. Of course, now pausing the game, I'm not sure if these scavenger bots paused. Apparently they did too, so yep, back to playing. I feel like you needed a scenario where you ran through this environment and saw it brightly lit while running, not ugly and old and dirty. Had you started with that scenario, then in the prologue, and we saw these posters and there's a big focus on them, and you got to see what the world looked like before the outbreak, then the dirtiness of this would be, I think, a little bit more impactful. There's, I think, room for a little bit of a slow build up, even in the 3rd game of the series. Like, you know in Dead Space 3 that you're going to end up finding Necromorphs, so that's not a big surprise. The prologue, playing a different character at a different time, maybe it would have been really surprising if it had lasted a little bit longer, but it didn't. I don't even know how you would have played that in co-op. Let's read this one. After receiving a report from Dr. Serrano's latest discoveries and in light of recent activities at the marker test sites, it is the decision of the Council to invoke Scenario 5. What we once thought would save us from extinction has only served to hasten it. Everything about markers, all research, all replicas, even the black marker must be forever buried. All sites to be shuttered, all involved planets are to be blacklisted. Everyone involved in the marker program, from Asperia to Aegis 7, which I think Aegis 7 was the planet you were around in the first game. Asperia may have been the place you were in the 2nd game. To Tau Volantis are to be executed. We realize this will effectively negate our ability to fight war against the separatists. They will no doubt take power and form an Earth government in the vacuum we leave behind, but to save the future of mankind, this must come to pass. Should ever even one person, ship, or scrap of paper survive to make its way into their hands, the epidemic will begin anew, and our sacrifice will have been for nothing. I know I can count on you to carry out these orders. It has been a pleasure working for you these many years. Long live the colonies. So that pretty much explains that there's the government that ran this group, the Scav, pretty much probably fell apart and got replaced by the EarthGov. And that explains, I guess, what happened with the markers previously. I don't think there's going to be any more scavenger bot deployments to happen here. And I imagine, yeah, this gives you backstory to a story you kind of don't care about. I mean, seriously, I really couldn't care less what happened previously to hundreds of years previous. What is not being hinted at here, and should be hinted at, is the idea that the original group of researchers on the marker found something else out in the codex, and that let them turn off the marker. But I don't think I really believe that that's really the case. I think what happened is that they enacted some weapon that apparently people have never heard of, or all history has been destroyed of, that let them freeze this planet. Okay. So I was trying to get into a corner, but more than likely I should be using the other weapon. So there's a question here. Can I get my other weapon out there? Are you safe? And you just don't really have time to take on like small creatures here to stomp on them or anything. What's funny is you reload your grenades, when you reload your regular gun, so you kind of have a lot of opportunities to take on enemies with your grenades, because your fast reload on this setup are setting you up nicely for launching a grenade whenever you feel like it. And it kind of doesn't matter enough to me to really care to find out if every time I launch a grenade, is that taking 12 ammunition from my gun, or is that taking 1 ammunition from my gun? Like, it could be either, and it's just not a big enough deal for me to care about it. And the only thing I can imagine would happen here is that I open this and then I get attacked again. Precision tip, ammo sweeper, transducers, phonic dispersal. Maybe one of those is new. Meanwhile, there might be some pickups. Or something. We found another artifact. Pause now if you want to read all of this. Pause now if you want to read all of this. Yep. Let's go back to a regular gun. And yeah, I don't think there's really anything else to do. I probably need to craft some health kits though. I'm noticing an issue there. Ammo sweeper, compressor, conic dispersal, precision tips, 2 scavenger bots to knock our tungsten up to a higher amount, a supply drop. Still have yet to do anything with the ration seals. None of that seems like that really was necessary. Okay, it costs a lot more to make a large med kit than it does a medium med kit, so we'll craft, I think 6 of those. We'll go ahead and sell this. I think we'll also go ahead and just craft a little bit more ammo. Probably won't need it. Seemingly we didn't get anything in that transfer though, in that whole optional mission. We didn't really get anything of unique or special value. So we can go back to the main game now. What we're not seeing here is a collection of parts that are big enough for you to potentially have 4 or 5 in your inventory, and that you would come to your inventory like this and then equip different weapons. Like we seem to have enough upgrades for weapons where you could upgrade more than 2, maybe even 3 or 4, but the core of it still doesn't really give you enough. That guy doesn't even see me. Yeah, and I suppose that was a case where they wanted to give you a jump scare and make you fight a few more people. Still nothing here. You probably would have had a decent amount of resources. There's our last upgrade on this suit, and we now have an achievement called Rigmaster for upgrading everything on our suit. What it doesn't seem to do though is in any way equip a different kind of suit. So we would still definitely want to wear the legendary, which is I assume the one we are wearing, because we have that whole extra row of inventory spots. The game would be near impossible to play if we didn't have that extra row of inventory spots at this point. And you definitely have the same issue that you would have in any game where you've specifically spent 10-20 minutes doing an optional mission, whereas they were building up the story otherwise. Interesting, that's not a pickup. Like, I hope I'm going the right way. I think I'm going the right way. It's just impossible to build up the tension to a story if you're going to take these side trips. And there's enough places here to have to double check to make sure you're going the right direction, even though everything is fairly linear. Inventory area. Where another bench is. This is another one of those scenarios where they're just going to throw a whole bunch of benches at you. Flashing lights could potentially cause seizures. I need to be careful about that. Interesting. After you stomped on the body you can't pick it up. Which, in the first game, you totally could telekinesis any bodies with physics, and you could just ragdoll them. And they seemingly have removed that as a option. Well, that's funny because you know this is going to stop you. So, So what we're supposed to do, I guess, is drag this ice block. Man, this is not really working. Towards us. To get from one side. To go around to the other side. Of course, we don't really know which side is the receiver and which side is the transmitter, so yep. It's not like it really explained that completely. We hear the whopping sound, so we know we should put down a scavenger. If they decide to throw Necromorphs at us, kind of feels like they would just get chopped up a lot. I see ahead. I see something firing, but it seems to be firing at the wall. or it seems to be just stuck. I mean, I can't even really see what's going on there, so it's kind of unfair. We'll just shoot that over on that side. I feel like you could easily just accidentally chop yourself in half in this sequence. And that's probably why you don't see a lot of this in the game. And it's only done once, is that it would just kind of trigger a cutscene. It would trigger a reload, and nobody wants to really mess with the reload.
Great. Are you headed back now?
Yep. Be there soon.
Remember, we have the whole unitologist guy also supposedly still talking to us whenever he feels like it. Like, now would be the time for him to show up and be a big boss fight character, but I feel like more than likely what you would do with him is he would show up and then immediately get turned into a necromorph and some kind of special kind of necromorph. Marker traitor? I was never loyal to the marker in the first place.
Isaac, you're not getting out of there alive.
Shut up, Danik.
They kind of have to repeat the name of the bad guy to you. He's such a non-entity. I'm just taking extra effort to make sure I stomp on everything. And if we were attacked by a giant necromorph at this point, that would be weird. And more we end up running through sections like this, and it's just too empty.
Ellie, how do we know this is even gonna work? Did you find out how they make a codex from all this?
Yeah. It looks like they use magnetomic forensic neurology, which produces a data stream stored in the codex. It's like they lifted the codes of the machine right out of her brain.
Well, that sounds familiar. At least they didn't poke her eye out. I'll be there soon.
So I guess that's a reference to what they did to Isaac in the second game, and we're trying to do with other people in the second game. It's questionable why any specific character that is a part of this hive mind necromorph entity. Really, it feels more like if necromorphs are all telepathically connected, they really aren't individuals at that point. And I think arguably that's the idea, is that they are just one giant hive creature with many limbs. But yeah, I don't know why Rosetta would know how the machine worked specifically.
One final fact for you to ponder as you recklessly pursue your own destruction. Were it not for the tampering of EarthGov or these long-dead researchers, or you, humanity would have painlessly transcended to our ultimate end, our predestined rebirth. Now, what purpose does all this conversation hope to serve? Well, the next time we see each other, and I shoot you in the face, you will understand why.
Yeah, He certainly didn't sell me on his mentality there. There really is no indication whatsoever, though, that they would have transitioned peacefully over via the signal from the markers. The marker seems to very much drive people crazy and turn some into necromorphs, which inherently means that the necromorphs would then brutally kill anyone who wasn't turned into a necromorph. It doesn't seem peaceful or painless in any means. This almost certainly has to be a boss fight of some sort. At the very least, it has to introduce Rosetta as a character. And I assume in co-op, this guy would have been with you the whole time instead of just standing here. You can see all around here is a whole bunch of writing and blood. There is still a possibility that she's a hallucination and he's a hallucination, although that
All right, let's hope we can
doesn't
figure this
make
thing out before
sense.
Danik finds us.
It's simple. Leg bones connected to, well, you know, whatever the hell that is.
This very much seems like you're putting together something like a regenerator. Like, I don't think you put this together and then it magically turns into a humanoid looking person. That would be an interesting twist in the third game of the series, is if the Necromorphs in their purest form could change their appearance and look humanoid and speak and think, and they were the much more formidable threat because they had that logic and intelligence to them. Because right now they're not much of a threat. So we're looking for the button. Button, who's got the button? Well, these are all glowing blues, so I assume maybe I'm just supposed to telekinesis them together? Let's look at what the game is telling us to do. Okay. There's nothing here. There's nothing over there. All the pieces seem to be in the right place. There's nothing this prompt seems to want to do. Okay. So this is a puzzle.
Okay, so what part is the head?
Okay.
All right,
Yes.
that looks like a, sort of. All right, it's just a blob, whatever. How are we supposed to piece this thing together?
There must be a trick to it.
There is weirdness here, certainly.
Okay, I think I see something forming here.
Yeah? Are we getting close?
It's hard to tell, but the outline is coming together.
You could spend a lot of time here. Certainly. So we have two things at the bottom. The problem with this puzzle is its visuals on it. It's just not a good way to be looking at it. Like, there's really no angle here that makes good sense.
Assembly complete. Codex initialization standing by.
Let's see
Okay.
what we got.
So we got an achievement for that. Games decide to start giving us achievements again.
Well, here she is. Meet Rosetta.
Where's her face?
She doesn't have a face. It's not even a she. It's an it. Rosetta's an alien.
No duh.
What does that mean?
It means they used an alien brain to unlock the secrets of the alien machine. It's clever. All right, let's see what happens when we activate it. This could get a little weird. Fingers crossed.
We get a full cutscene here. So there's a whole alien race, it looks like, of druid-like appearance. They made all kinds of markers, smaller markers, bigger markers. They sent out a signal. That signal grabbed a bunch of the aliens slash necromorphs and dragged them up into a big ball. Is that an explosion to get rid of the necromorphs? Or did they create a big planet slash maybe moon of necromorph bodies? I guess that would be one way to send a ton of necromorphs to a planet, is just shoot an entire moon at somebody.
Oh no.
4 of them.
No, we've got it all wrong. This isn't the marker homeworld. The aliens, they found the markers just like us, and it spread. It consumed them. It pulled their bodies into the sky to form the final stage. Oh my God, the moon. The moon is the source of the marker signal, not the machine. The moon is convergence. The aliens, they built the machine to freeze the planet, to keep the moon from becoming whole. If the machine shuts down, everything thaws, and convergence is resumed, not just here, but everywhere the markers have spread.
And this is the key to turning it all off. Thank you for doing all the heavy lifting.
No! It will home in on Earth's markers and hunt us down. You don't understand what
I
you're doing.
misunderstood initially, that's true, but it's all quite clear to me now. It's not only mankind's tampering which has hindered our glorious rebirth, but this alien machine as well.
This guy's crazy.
No.
Obviously.
Now that I have this, I'll be able to turn it off. The natives of this planet chose death over evolution. Now I'll make sure humanity doesn't make the same mistake. We will, all of us, be made whole. Well, come on, kill them. Jesus! We have what we need. Hurry!
Isaac, the codex!
So we're not even gonna get to.
Son of a bitch! You jammed the door!
There's a manual override system in the control booth. I can open it from here.
No! You'll never make it out!
It's open. Go!
So if we
Right
like
behind you.
free the aliens and thaw the alien out here, I don't know if it would even help us or attack us or what. Like I'm about to die here. I don't know what I'm supposed to do. Well, let's talk about the story there. That story was just straight up told to us. Like you have no choice but to to figure out. You have no choice but to be told what's going on because it's so ridiculous it doesn't make any sense at all. What am I supposed to be doing here? It's like I don't have a fireproof suit, nor do I have the opportunity to or time to. Okay. You can walk here, and yet it still sets you on fire. This might just be a VSync issue. Like, this feels like this is probably a VSync issue. Let's just turn off the VSync, because it doesn't make any sense otherwise. Like, we've got nothing here. We can get this far, and then you can run here. All of a sudden now with the VSync turned off. Maybe I just didn't run fast enough.
Door malfunction.
We gotta shut this door.
We're leaving Ellie.
Ellie, come on! Ellie!
It's no good. It's moving too fast. Isaac, do it. Just do it. Isaac! I love you.
So tap A to shoot her. Apparently I hesitated, and because I hesitated, it let the fire in. Yeah, this is a big cinematic event that you really should just be, you should just be shown instead of.
Door malfunction.
Gotta shut this door.
So I assume if I had hesitated previously to shoot the other guy, then this would have probably, I probably would have died too in that cutscene.
Just do it.
Alright. And that just shuts the door. I thought you were going to actually shoot her. I wouldn't be surprised if the Rosetta saves her and merges with her.
That gas is still coming. We gotta go now. She's all I got. This was her mission. She knew better than anyone how important it was. Now we've got to finish this for her. Got it? Do you got it? Yeah. Then let's go. Isaac, now.
Isaac always getting the short end of the stick, although Ellie's dead, so can't really complain that much. Alright, where are we going to now? Sure doesn't feel like we'd be able to do the co-op mission at this point, if this whole facility is burning down.
I left her. Ellie.
We don't control the camera here.
Hey. Keep it together. Come on, man. Don't fall apart on me.
I wouldn't be surprised if this guy is a hallucination.
We can't let him shut it down.
Then we're gonna make sure he never gets there. You got that?
All right. Hey. Hey. It looks like Danik unlocked access to all floors.
Where'd he go?
I don't. Where'd he go? I don't know. Jesus.
Son of a bitch. Okay. All right. We're gonna split up. You take floor 1, I'll take floor 2.
Okay.
All right.
All right, just hey. Keep your head, man. I can't do this without you.
All right.
Okay. So do I want VSync on? No, so let's turn that off again. Man, sure sucks to have to mess with all that. So it seems like we're going to follow the flares. Guess we could have done the co-op section, but it does also seem like the game has intentionally put us, split us up in this section, which is weird. But yeah, that story was awful. The idea of the moon, or a moon, being a convergence of bodies that have been turned into necromorphs, and that is what the make us whole statement was about for the entirety of this game, is not good. It's a terrible concept. Yes, I don't know if there's anything else we really want to do. Like, we were dying not because we were low on health, we were dying because of the game being glitchy. I suppose you might be able to run to some different areas and maybe catch up, but I suspect not really. I also feel like this is chapter 15 and this is the point where everything is going to slow down or speed up towards the
I know
end.
where Danik is going. To get to the machine, he's got to go underground, and there's only one way down, the big silo north of here.
Okay, I'm updating my locator. I'll meet you there.
If it is a case that all of this is a hallucination and Isaac is alone in this solo mission, which certainly would explain why the co-op character doesn't really ever help you out, and he isn't just one of those AI-driven type co-op characters where you're constantly getting assistance. Rocket launchers and barriers.
Get ready, he's gonna run! He's after the codex! Stand your ground! We will be reborn! There he is! Fire! Watch out, Nathan!
I'm trying to like wing this guy in the leg. And once again we have a scenario where the necromorphs, they can't be that smart, because if they could even get a general idea of understanding what's going on here, they would be helping the unitologists, or at the very least they would be prioritizing the death of Isaac over these other characters. Them scratching and killing the unitologist doesn't immediately turn them into necromorphs. So it would be better to at least temporarily have them hold up and fight amongst each other, have the humans fight amongst each other. I think we've already done the disposal services mission. If not, then this is a co-op mission. Well, it's locked regardless. They really are having us just wander back and forth between the same area over and over again. While we're waiting, we'll go ahead and see if we need just one or two health kits. we see some flares and we see some fires and right. So they blew up a area we couldn't access before. It's totally not worth your time to stomp on all of these. What they needed to do, particularly since we're in the third game in the series, is give you something in your suit that just would automatically open. Let's see. Men are not punished for their sins, but by them. And here we have more crazy signals, gibbered signals, but none of it turns into like the hallucination signals that we saw in the first game. It doesn't feel like there are any aliens like Rosetta talking to. Now would be an interesting point. It's too late in the game, but it would be an interesting point if Rosetta started to send her thoughts into your body, into your mind. This very well may have been the point where the game ended on the prologue. Let's deal with the Necromorphs in this area first. So it feels like the Necromorphs in about 3 shots will get exploded even if you do center chest shots. But maybe not, because actually that feels closer like I had to pump 4 or 5 shots into the guy. Well, I could use a small health kit, but I think what I'm going to end up doing is just having a heal happen, or have the inventory at the max. Yeah, I'm picking up somatic gel. I think these guys are actually probably helping me more than hurting me. Seems like these faster ones don't want to attack in larger groups. The jitteriness and weirdness of these guys is interesting. They do feel like something that you could have in a Hellraiser video game, or a new take on something like the nurses in Silent Hill. There is a certain level of unnatural horror to these jittery guys that is kind of well forgotten as far as all the other Necromorphs, which just look like the Necromorphs that once existed in previous games. And then at a certain level, I suppose it is very much a case where they didn't want to redo all the Necromorphs. They could have. They certainly could have done that. And everything could have been different because all these Necromorphs could have been based off aliens. Here we have a co-op door. So if storyline wise the two are always split at this level, then why a co-op door here? It's easy enough to get these to the right place. They give you plenty of time to do these puzzles. Even as a single player. Maybe they give you twice as much time when you play in single player. That is definitely also an example of where the game is slowing down its own pace. This should be, with the music playing and such, this should be a sequence where it's just run, run, run with no puzzles and nothing that would slow you down. And it's not that at all. Chapter 16, What Lies Below, Underground Descent. Okay. So we have plenty of health, plenty of shots. We have a flame glaze. We have what looks like maybe one dialogue thing for chapter 16. We have scavenger bots that we very possibly won't be able to deploy at all for this section. And we finally finished 14, and we kind of rushed through 15. Yeah. I would assume anything that we didn't get in 14 is because of the co-op optional section. Which, since some of these are like artifacts, then there is actual story being hidden behind co-op sections. And then 15 literally just had 2 weapons parts. There's one log for 16 that's an audio log, 4 weapons parts, a blueprint, and a circuit. The fact that we're limited on circuits, I would assume means that they know exactly what circuit is where. And so because of that, unless it were a New Game Plus scenario, I imagine we are only going to get at most a +2/+2 on everything and never a +3 on anything, or a +2/+2/+1 as far as 3 different elements or 4 different elements being affected by an upgrade circuit. After we do 16 here, which will be fairly quick boss fight, then we have 17, which has 1 optional mission, so there's going to be some falling action, but not a ton of collectibles. Well, 10 circuits. Interesting, that is a lot of circuits. And then 18 only has 2 artifacts and 3 logs and 1 circuit and 2 weapon parts. And then 19 has like 1 artifact collectible. So I wouldn't be surprised if 16 is where we fight Danik, but it's too late. Then we turn off the machine and we have to fight the moon. Basically a convergence of necromorphs, turning all of the flesh and mass of a planet into a giant ball, telekinetic ball of flesh that then moves to a different planet to then continue to spread like a virus amongst the universe. That logic wouldn't even really work that well, because between individual solar systems you'd have to be approaching light speed, and even at that it would take you years and years to get from one solar system to another. You probably could not infect all of the universe before, again, the heat death of the universe. Even if you could, I don't really know the reasoning behind it. If any kind of aliens had created the markers and they were just trying to connect everybody telepathically, wouldn't it be easier to just offer like the Borg mentality of great technological improvement or knowledge improvement, as it were? Like, at least start with a false promise instead of immediately driving species crazy and turning them into necromorphs. That aggressiveness does not make sense for the final goal of what it seems like it is, which then just pretty much implies that the marker makers were just this unknowable, ununderstandable evil. Anyways, I could ramble on, but I would rather just end this episode. It feels like we maybe have 3 or 4 more hours of gameplay. I couldn't see a reason why I would want to play this game in New Game Plus, and then we'll probably have 3 or 4 more hours on top of that with the DLC. That's going to be it for this recording. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos. If you want a friend to follow me on any social media sites, there's a whole bunch of links down below. And if you want to support me further, there's a link to Patreon, or you can friend me on Steam and get me a game off my wishlist. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.